How much do you know about Ken Paxton?
Absolutely nothing. I don't know who Ken Paxton is. I don't think I've heard of this.
Okay, so Ken Paxton. Actually, there's a famous fucking John Oliver bit where like Ken Paxton gets blasted for stealing a pen. Anyways, he's an American politician and lawyer who has served as the AG of Texas, the great state of Texas, since 2015. And he got famous for like suing Obama and Biden and shit like that. He's a member of the Republican Party. That's not why we're covering him, but he's a member of the Republican Party. And he also previously served in the Texas State Senate representing the 8th District and as a member of the Texas House of Representatives.
Gotcha.
So, career politician. He's age 62 years old, affiliation of the Republican Party. He was educated at Baylor University and the University of Virginia School of Law. He has, I think, 4 children, and notably his father is Warren Kenneth Paxton Sr., who's an American politician, and he is notable. Well, actually, his father's rabbit hole we don't need to get into. His family's filthy rich. Yeah. That's what I'm getting into.
He's like the prototypical Texan, like...
Yeah, 30-gallon hat, like Doug Diggadome,
Doug
owner of the
Diggadome.
Dimsdale Dimmadome.
Yeah,
exactly. So that's kind of the energy he brings to the table.
Gotcha.
Why we were talking about him today is because on July 10th of this month, so like a week or two ago, we waited a little bit for the dust to settle before covering this. Texas State Senator Angela Paxton, the dear missus, the old ball and chain, announced on Twitter, and I'm still calling it that. Ex-morons come for me. She was seeking a divorce from Ken, her husband of 38 years. So she cited biblical grounds as the reason for their separation, which would appear to contradict a very fundamentalist Christian belief system that the Paxtons have always put front and center in their politics.
Yeah.
However, it's actually not the first time they've brought the language of Scripture into public announcements, whether it's during their electoral campaigns or Ken Paxton's numerous political scandals. This is more why we're covering him, which includes securities fraud, bribery, abuse of power, that aforementioned pen thief that I talked about earlier. And the divorce could spell trouble for Ken Paxton, who is vying to unseat John Cornyn for the U.S. Senate in 2026.
Gotcha. But I don't remember securities fraud being explicitly banned in the Bible.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
It says that nowhere in Jeremiah 17. It doesn't say anything about thou shalt not commit.
Yeah, so he's in the clear.
Yeah. So first, I think this was a little bit of this was kind of bait for me a little bit because like I do family law, and so I wanted to talk about biblical and covenant divorces.
Yeah.
So first off, let's start with what the hell biblical divorce is. Citing biblical grounds as the reason for your divorce is like convenient. And vague, but in essence, it's more of a palatable way of saying he fucking cheated on me or infidelity. The reasoning has been taken from commonly accepted but narrowly interpretation of divorce from the New Testament, which in general says, and I am not a religion major, priests come for me in the comments, quote, I say to you that anyone who divorces his wife, except on the grounds of unchastity, causes her to commit adultery. So basically, unfaithfulness is a reason, has been interpreted as the plausible reason for religious fundamentalist divorces.
Gotcha.
That was in the 5th chapter of Matthew. That's Jesus saying that divorce is so serious, the only time it should be allowed is if there is sexual immorality of some kind involved. Yeah. Of course, this is written with the assumption that it's the woman who's committing the sin of adultery. Exactly. But most of today's evangelical leaders extend this logic to husbands who cheat as well. Yeah. So thanks, modern day evangelical leaders.
They toned it down a little bit.
Yeah. And so the twist of what's going on here is that the Paxtons sort of have a really difficult, narrow needle to thread here, because they have sold themselves as fundamentalist, good, Bible thumping, God fearing Americans, and both of them are still politicians, right? And so she's in the state Texas House, or she's in the state government, and he's at national government, and so the appearance to voters is really still paramount.
Yeah.
On X, the dear Angela said, quote, I believe marriage is a sacred covenant, and I have earnestly pursued reconciliation, but in light of recent discoveries, I do not believe that it honors God or his loving to myself, my children, or Ken to remain in the marriage. I move forward with complete confidence that God is always working everything together for the good of those who love him and who are called according to his purpose.
Oh, man.
She got cheated on bad.
Yeah, you know it's bad when they say in light of recent discoveries. When it is a discovery.
Yeah, I know. Like what stay curious, girl.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. I would ooh.
I think so. Meanwhile, on X, Ken wrote, quote, "After facing the pressure of countless political attacks and public scrutiny, Angela and I have decided to start a new chapter in our lives." Oh, it was 100% her idea.
Crazy spin.
However, Texas newsroom journalist Lauren sorry. Let's get back on track here.
No, it's all good.
Lauren McGahee was able to acquire the divorce records from Collin County Court on July 10th before the records were sealed. And reported that the records state that Angela's stated reason for divorce was indeed adultery, and the two had stopped living together as spouses in June of 2024.
Wow.
So more than a year ago.
Yeah.
But they've been publicly... So it's been like a year and change delay.
Yeah.
And I really want to highlight this because we deal with celebrity divorces a lot in our practice. When you divorce, it is as much a PR positioning campaign as much it is like... defeating the other spouse.
Yeah,
that's why,
exactly.
that's why like Mackenzie Bezos and Jeff Bezos, when they were still together, they negotiated the whole thing very quietly behind the scenes and then filed the whole thing in court saying we've come to an agreement. That agreement is confidential.
Yeah.
And that's why the Bezoses' divorce, despite being billions of dollars, is really boring looking. It looks like anyone else's divorce.
Very low key.
And we see that playing out here. Now, when Angela's local state senator vacated his seat for the to run for Congress in 2017, she decided to join the race for the Republican nomination for District 8, which covers like a big chunk of North Texas. Angela Paxton, she's a Texas native who was adopted as a baby by a couple unable to conceive, a fact which she credits for her commitment to the anti-abortion movement. She attended Baylor University in Waco, Texas, where she met Ken. They married in 1986, and she then spent a lengthy career in education, teaching math in Collin County Public Schools before becoming a guidance counselor at a private Christian school. Angela spent decades supporting Ken's political career before deciding to try her hand at it herself, and she was known to get musical at Ken's campaign events. I think you might have heard of this. Notably singing a song where she wrote the lyrics, quote, "I'm a pistol packing mama and my husband sues Obama." Remember that? Remember that shit?
Yeah.
Maybe we'll edit that into screen. That was Angela Paxton.
They are part of internet culture.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Nobody make a voice clone of me reading that out loud. So anyways, she decided to run for state in 2017. She ran against a local businessman named Philip Huffines, which is like the most local businessman name ever. And both campaigns spent over $10 million each, making it the most expensive state Senate primary in history.
Whoa.
Or in Texas state history, excuse me. Ken Paxton's own campaign gave her a $2 million loan, so her husband gave her some juice. Angela's political career has thus been closely tied to Ken's, and in fact might not have happened without him and his machine backing her to begin with. She went on to handily win the primary, but only narrowly defeat her Democratic opponent in the general election. Once she was in office, she immediately started to work on setting things up for her politically entrenched and dubious husband. So those of you do not know, Ken Paxton has been involved in like numerous, like he was impeached. He is like securities fraud, taking bribes because he's the AG, so you like take bribes to stop or start investigations, all sorts of stuff. In February 2019, Angela introduced Senate Bill 860, which would allow Ken, already AG in Texas at the time, the power to issue exemptions from securities regulations.
I could see why he would want to do that.
It's kind of chill, actually. I wonder if we've got any gold bars lying around. Shout out to last week when I couldn't fucking pronounce anyone's names. It passed, 860 passed, allowing individuals to serve as investment advisors without needing to register with the Texas State Board that oversees them.
Oh, wow.
Angela told CBS News Texas that the bill, quote, has literally nothing to do with the criminal case that Ken was battling at the time, where he was charged with defrauding investors in securities regulations.
That's so funny.
Put a pin in this because we'll explore Ken's crimes like in a little bit. But like, trust me, bro, literally nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
for my husband being charged with this exact issue.
Yeah, it doesn't. No relation. No relation.
Outside of doing literally anything to protect her husband, she's focused her Senate career on educational legislation because she was a former teacher. Drawing on her career as a teacher, her latest authored legislation, Senate Bill 13, passed in March of 2025 and moved control over school library catalogs from the librarians to boards of parents appointed by each school. Yep. The book, the thought police.
Yeah.
This allows parents to have any library book immediately removed from the school until decisions are made by the school board. So it doesn't allow them to ban the book outright, but it allows them to basically sink books they don't like in red tape until the school has decided what to do with them. And there's actually, I actually was doing a little bit of reading about this. There's actually nothing that stops the parents from doing it again.
Oh, so right after it comes back.
Yeah, they can punt it back, and they basically just cover the book in red tape and sink it.
Yeah.
Right? And so the effect is that this basically allows anyone on this little board to basically ban any book in public school.
Yeah. Well, the caring caterpillar is teaching our kids how to be communists.
Communist sympathizers. When fucking Che Guevara actually watched Fidel Castro do a Euro step in basketball. He balled so hard he questioned his loyalty to the revolution.
Yeah, exactly.
We got to cover that later. Anyways, Ken Paxton was born on the Minot Air Force Base in North Dakota. He grew up in a trailer with his parents and two siblings before attending Baylor University, as we've said before, where they met. And he got his JD from the University of Virginia. He actually worked for the JCPenney company until 2002.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, if you that mall smell from 2000s, that's Ken. In 2002, that's when Ken first got into politics, running for Republican nomination for District 70 in the Texas House at the state level. He went into a runoff with his opponent after close initial results, where he won the nomination and then thoroughly crushed the Democratic and independent candidates for the seat in the general election. The Democrats did the Democrat thing even back in 2002, where they fielded way too many people, split the vote in infighting, and then let him win.
Well, but being a Democrat in Texas, talk about an underdog.
Yeah, talk about underdog. Well, actually, Austin, all the major cities are Democratic strongholds.
Okay, gotcha.
The state is a Republican stronghold, but the cities are actually I actually love Austin.
Austin's cool.
Austin's cool. It's cool as hell. Yeah. But you're correct. Yeah. It's nationally and at the state level, it is a tough time to be a Democrat in Texas. He went on to easily win his District 70 House seat 5 times in a row until 2012, when he ran for his district's Senate seat to replace the retiring incumbent, which I think we all know about. In 2014. He decided to run for the position he still holds to this day, which is Attorney General for Texas. The path to the office was laid clear thanks to the political shuffling of some very recognizable Texas names. Rick Perry was retiring from the governorship, while Greg Abbott was vacating his spot as AG to succeed Perry. So everybody sort of bumped up the ladder.
Yeah.
From the moment he announced his campaign, Paxton led the Republican nominee and won the party endorsement with 63% of the vote.
Gotcha.
He then defeated his Democratic challenger, a man from Houston named Sam Houston. Nice. And took office in January 2015. I actually, Megan, if our researcher, Megan, if you're reading this, that's really funny. I didn't actually know that. I knew about the race, but Sam Houston from Houston, Texas, I think he's 2 doors down from Doug Dimmadome.
Yeah, exactly. I know. Yeah. Well, it's just teaching me that my stereotypes about Texas are right.
Yeah, they really Texas done it to themselves, didn't they? Now, as AG of Texas, Ken Paxton's reputation is synonymous with ultra-conservative and far-right principles, which, by the way, all of this is branding. Ken is not actually like this in person. I've actually met him, Newt Gingrich, and a number of other people in my service to the State Department. It's Marjorie Taylor Greene is actually a very nice person to serve in Washington, D.C.
Wow.
All of her crazy ranting, it's just branding. I just not saying we shouldn't take it seriously. I'm just saying it is all theater. Don't fall for the rage bait.
It makes sense.
Yeah. So with ultra-conservative and far-right principles, and he has the track record to prove it, he's anti-abortion to the point that when Roe v. Wade was overturned by the Supreme Court, he gave everyone in the office the day off work. He's even sought to block rules from the Department of Health and Human Services that would require hospitals to provide abortions when it's medically necessary to save the woman's life.
Wow.
He also staunchly opposed any LGBTQ rights. Nice, good guy. And he packed his own office, full of prominent opponents to the normalization of gay people existing in the United States.
My God.
/S sarcasm here. Stand up Ken Paxton guy.
Yeah.
Way to go. Really being against gay people.
I know.
Throughout 2025. E25, no less.
And giving your office the day off for Roe v. Wade being overturned is just
it's so
icky.
I'd take the day off, admittely, but I'd be like, I'm not thinking about why we're doing this.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
No one else is going to be there, but like I'm not. I have mixed feelings. Anyways,
it's so bad.
He also offered. Remember that like that ghoulish like county clerk who like refused to sign that it's not in my notes. The lady that looks like kind of like a mini version of the Gringotts goblins from Harry Potter, and she refused to sign a gay married couple's marriage certificate. Like they'd already gotten married. She just needed the county clerk just need to sign it. Ken Paxton actually offered public support for state clerks who refused to sign marriage licenses from gay couples, issued new interpretation of Texas law to characterize gender-affirming care for minors as child abuse.
Oh my God.
And said he would defend state sodomy laws if if SCOTUS precedent that invalidates such laws, see also Lawrence v. Texas, ever fell. Most recently, he sued the NCAA in December of 2024 because he believes allowing trans athletes to compete is deceptive to attendees. Of course, we don't have to worry about that now because the NCAA has already acquiesced to Trump's political climate. So
it's crazy.
Yeah.
You're in the 2000s talking about sodomy laws. Yeah. My dog.
Well,
what do you mean?
It's like Read the Room, guys, because it's like he's like that weirdo at the family reunion that's like, there's ghosts in my blood, and then and then mystifyingly everyone looks around and they're like, yeah, just let him, and we're like, let him. Like, what do you he needs help?
And you mentioned that it's like kind of it's an act. It's definitely an act.
Oh yeah,
but
it's definitely
like
an act.
Which is worse, that it's an act or that it's real?
Right?
Man.
That's a good question. Well, because like I would argue it's worse that it's an act because sure. He doesn't believe it, but that's immaterial to the impact it has.
Yeah, exactly.
And that means he and the politicians like him who position themselves as ultra lightning rods.
Yeah.
They know at some level it doesn't align with their personal beliefs. Yeah. And they do it anyways. And then what matters is that the people who receive the message go on to do it. And that's where the harm comes. Because once it proliferates and normalizes, it's like the Jubilee video. Yeah. You see the fucking Jubilee video where they brought in like a guy who was like a really smart, intelligent guy, and then they surrounded him with fascists.
Yeah. They keep
and the guy who is straight up just like, yeah, I'm a fascist because I know the government's not going to kill me. And I'm like, so they're going to kill everyone else? That's your plan? They're going to kill you.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Eventually.
Eventually there will be no more people on the undesirables list. Yeah. Like when Trump issued that executive order about like criminalizing homelessness on the streets. The problem with fascist governments, and we talked about this way back in season 1, episode 1, is that they do not, the loyalty machine, there's no amount of loyalty you can feed into the black hole that will prevent the fascist machine from eventually turning on you. Which is also one of the reasons why fascist governments are so brittle, is because ultimately they eat their own. Yeah. Not before doing horrific damage to everyone near them, but still.
Yeah, it's you next.
Yeah, it's you next. Always. Yeah, exactly. Anyways, and I actually like those Jubilee videos. I have really mixed feelings about them because like they did the Jordan Peterson thing where it's like 20 atheists versus a Christian, and the Christian was just Jordan Peterson, and Jordan Peterson spent the whole video just refusing to say whether or not he's a Christian.
Yeah, almost sobbing. Yeah, the signature Jordan Peterson. Well, I don't. You are misrepresented. Like, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's such an interesting debate tactic because Peterson's MO is that he confronts you with logic-sounding rhetoric. And when I say rhetoric, I mean like in the truest sense of the skill rhetoric. Like rhetoric is a skill independent of your position. You can win a debate and actually have a much inferior factual basis because the skill of debate is independent from your actual underlying claim, right? That's why Ben Shapiro and Jordan Peterson, they tend to only debate college undergraduates who may have actually like maybe a more sound good faith argument, but a much worse at articulating it. Anyways, where I'm going with this is that Jordan Peterson he'll confront you with a claim and then he'll respond to it, and then he'll either move the goalpost or argue inane semantics with you until it basically he delays the point to the point where the whole conversation is derailed.
Exactly.
And since he only appears on social media, the attention span of the audience, if you can delay the point or confuse it, you win it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if you don't pin him him down, you just scroll to the next video and the audience sees that, and Jordan Peterson has built his career off of that.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I don't know how I feel about those Jubilee videos because of that.
Yeah, well, they frame it as like we're having a good faith argument, but it's not a good faith argument.
I would actually say that like when they bring in like 20 liberals versus one conservative sort of thing, I've actually thought that like, independent of whether or not I agree with them, I actually thought for their positions, I always think the liberals they bring in at least attempt a good faith argue. They don't go for crazy hyperbole. Some do because there's 20 of them, but like overall, I would say their rhetoric is like tolerable.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, but liberal versus fascist is so
liberal
like it's
versus
such a different thing. Like it's like I don't know. Like if it was like if they had Charlie Kirk versus 20 Leninists.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's more of the equivalent. I feel like.
Yeah, it's like here's one member of the Ayatollah Revolutionary Guard
exactly.
versus 20 of the Hitler Youth.
Yeah, exactly.
And anyways, now that we've got that in the transcript, we're getting blacklisted from every single podcast distribution spot. But it's like that's actually such a great point because like when you're like, here's a kitten, right? And maybe you're not a cat person, right? And here is a rabid wolf.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? These two things are the same because we're putting them, we're taking 20 rabid wolves and we're putting one kitten and then we're having them debate.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, these are not the same thing.
The kitten should be able to defend itself.
Yeah, it's the marketplace of ideas. Yeah. No, the fucking wolves are going to come in and kill everyone in the studio. Yeah. So, I mean, like, the normalization is so tough because the Punnett Square is constantly like when these fascists, they travel in groups and they cover their faces because they need that social validation. It was very cathartic for those fascists to say that they were fascists for the first time ever and not like dance around it. Now, for context, that guy who was like, yeah, I'm a fascist, that guy actually was like a conservative, like he's actually like a small-time podcast influencer type. And then he goes online and whines about not having a job anymore. He actually never lost his job. But he raised over $30K from that video, and that's why he went and did it.
Oh, my God.
Because it feeds the persecution complex is really important.
Oh, absolutely.
Anyways, we gotta get back on track here. So anyways, to circle back to Paxton and the rhetoric of the right, here are some other classic Republican sticking points that Paxton has like something to show for. So in education, Paxton is a huge proponent of allowing religion in school, but really the outcome is that it's Christianity. It's not like if you were to hand out Qurans, he would lose his mind. He's quoted saying that there's anti-Christian discrimination within our schools, yet he is also very opposed to letting Muslim students use vacant school spaces to pray. In healthcare, he's attempted to sue to have the Affordable Care Act overruled in its entirety before a judge deemed it unconstitutional. You should also know that the Affordable Care Act is called something different in every single state. Here it's called Apple Health. One of the reasons why the ACA and Obamacare and whatever local thing is being administered are so confusing is because every state calls them different things. And so it's not called. So when we say like, hey, watch out, Obamacare and the ACA and Medicaid are being defunded, they're like, I'm not on Medicaid, and then all their funding gets so and if you actually look at what the liberal states versus the Republican states, what they call their local health programs, it's very obvious the Republican states are trying to distance the branding from. So anyways, that's something to get into later. On the environment, Paxton challenged Obama's Clean Power Plan Act, which was a plan to transition each state from coal to natural gas and renewable energies. He was also one of 11 Republican AGs who filed an amicus brief siding with ExxonMobil in the company's suit to block a climate change probe from the Massachusetts Attorney General. Paxton successfully helped defend Texas and get Governor Greg Abbott in Abbott v. Perez, which is a case we should cover all on its own. The case concerning the creation of gerrymandering lines by the state's Republican-controlled House to discriminate against minority voters, Democrats. SCOTUS ruled in a 5-4 opinion that there was insufficient evidence to prove that state Republicans acted in bad faith and engaged in intentional discrimination in reference to the districts named in the suit.
Wow.
So here in Washington, we have a nonpartisan commission that draws the legislative districts. Not so in Texas. It's winner takes all. The Republican, and actually in Maryland was also famous for this, but the Democrats, is that like political party in power gets to draw the lines. Who knows? It makes it almost a good way, a test to see if something is gerrymandered is if you flip the voters and like you take the map and you flip the voters, and if it's still impossible for the other side to win with no change in the electorate, that's a really strong indicator that it's well gerrymandered. Now, for Trump, it's hard to find a politician sucking up to the fearless leader harder than Paxton himself. Paxton has pushed for his office to have more control over prosecuting election-related crimes, but has not elaborated what that means, so that it's easier to contest election results that he deems unfavorable at a discretionary basis. He himself filed the unsuccessful Texas v. Pennsylvania suit at the Supreme Court to contest Biden's win in 2020. He even spoke at a pro-Trump rally that immediately preceded the Capitol insurrection on January 6th, 2021. Yeah, and there's so many more to share, but you get the picture. Paxton is an enduring figure in Texas conservative politics. Notable not just for the ferocity of his convictions, but for his ability to brush aside in your constant stream of political scandals. So now we talk about the scandals. Now it gets juicy because like this is the fine shit.
All right, let's go.
So pretty much as soon as Ken Paxton was like appointed as Attorney General's office, he started abusing his power. Shout out Bob Menendez. On July 28, 2015, I love that thumbnail, by the way.
Oh, it was so good.
That thumbnail. By the time you see this, know that we love that gold bar thumbnail. We put a lot of love in that bad boy. Our production team like put that in chat and they're like, can we ship this? And I'm like, yeah fuck yeah, ship that. That's awesome.
So good. And the tracksuit killed
the Russian tracksuit. Yeah, anyways, July 28, 2015, Paxton was indicted by Collin County grand jury. Grand jury is basically a panel of jurors convened to like decide whether or not it's possible to prosecute someone. It's a check on prosecutorial power on 3 felony counts of securities fraud, which means he was encouraging investors to make decisions based on false information. Basically, in this case, he was accused of soliciting investors to buy stock in a tech company called Servergy. Yeah, Servergy Inc. I don't say anything out loud when I read the notes, the podcast where we don't know how to pronounce things, without disclosing that he would be compensated for that, for their investment. 2 of the charges were first-degree felonies with potential sentences up to 99 years each. Paxton pleaded not guilty and maintained his innocence, calling the case politically motivated. The criminal case dragged on for years due to multiple venue changes and special prosecutors being appointed and carouseled through. In 2023, he agreed to a pretrial diversion, an alternative to traditional prosecution that for Paxton includes community service, restitution, and ethics education.
That's so funny.
This diversion led to charges being dropped altogether in 2025.
Gotcha. I just love how he keeps getting caught doing messed up stuff, and then he's just like, it's politically motivated. Like even in his tweet announcing his divorce, he was like, "We're getting divorced, and it's actually politically motivated."
Yeah, it's guys, fellas. The liberals ruined my marriage.
Yeah, exactly. The liberals ruined my marriage. It's because of the media.
Too many blue-haired girls were in my house.
Yeah,
they ruined my marriage.
Exactly.
Ladies, if he says he's a moderate, that's a Republican. Swipe left.
Yeah.
He just needs to have sex. No one's paying attention to him.
Exactly.
In October of 2020, 7 top aides in the Texas AG's office, 7, right? Not
That's
6,
wild.
7, including Paxton's first assistant AG, Jeff Mader, published an open letter and filed complaints with law enforcement concerning Paxton's rampant abuse of power.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, so his first assistant AG and 6 of his top guys were like,
"What?
Yo, this guy's corrupt." They alleged Paxton abused his station to benefit a real estate investor named Nate Paul.
Oh my God.
The Jake Paul adjacency is unreal.
Yeah.
A political donor and friend of Paxton's, and that in return, Paxton got a home remodel, and Paul's real estate company hired a woman with whom Paxton was having an affair.
Oh my God.
By the end of the month, all the 7 whistleblowers had resigned, been fired, or put on leave.
Jeez.
4 of the whistleblowers sued the AG, citing illegal retaliation under the Texas Whistleblower Act.
Yeah.
In response, the FBI opened an investigation in 2021, which was eventually taken over to the Department of Justice after Paxton unsuccessfully tried to have the suit dismissed, claiming that the Whistleblower Act should not apply to him as an elected executive official. Nice.
Wow.
So I have so much power, I should not be held accountable.
It's crazy that this doesn't take him down like completely.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's who you know.
Yeah.
And remember, impeachment is ultimately a political question.
Yeah.
Right? It's a political question. There's no standards. That's why you can be impeached in the House and not convicted in the Senate. If you do enough favors, you can do almost whatever you want, especially in an executive. I mean, on paper, no, but in practice, yes.
Yeah.
On February 2023, Paxton moved to settle to the tune of $3.3 million payout to the whistleblowers, which honestly is not that much.
Yeah.
Between like all four of them. A May 2023 payout date passed without any actual payout from Paxton. So a Travis County judge recently ruled in April of this year that Paxton did indeed violate the Whistleblower Act, awarding the aides $6.7 million.
I'm happy about that. That's beautiful.
After filing Texas v. Pennsylvania, which was it was basically just a pantomime.
Yeah.
Ken Paxton is many things, but an idiot is not one of them. He knew the election was not stolen, but he filed it anyways because he's like, yeah, I'll lose.
Yeah.
But it's a signal of loyalty to the top guys. Yeah, after filing Texas v. Pennsylvania to sow distrust among the American electorate, the State Bar of Texas had something to say about it. In May of 2022, actually, the Bar's Commission for Lawyers Discipline sued Paxton in Collin County Court, asking the court to find that Paxton had acted unethically in filing Texas v. Pennsylvania, making false claims and seeking to subvert the election results. The case is still ongoing because it got swept up in Paxton's latest and greatest scandal, his 2023 impeachment.
Yeah.
Now, in February, and the ball just keeps rolling. In February 2023, Paxton asked the Appropriations Subcommittee of the Texas House of Representatives to provide him with more taxpayer dollars to fund his office, including $3.3 million originally sought in his, at the time, pending whistleblower case.
Yeah.
So he's basically like, money, please?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, fucking Parks and Rec, where it's like, it's just easier to give her money.
Yeah.
That's what we're dealing with now. This quickly prompted the House General Investigating Committee to start investigating Paxton in March of 2023 when they're like, so you fired all these guys. Now you want 3.3. I mean, the exact amount they want to settle for. The committee stated in May of 2023 that his request triggered an immediate need for investigation and put Paxton on the path to impeachment.
Oh my God.
Paxton was so scared that the day before the committee released its report, he accused the day before he accused the Texas House Speaker Dade Phelan of Phelan of being in the state of quote debilitating intoxication while performing his duties. Later that day, that's a nice pivot there. Later that you see Trump doing the same thing where it's like release the Epstein files, and then Trump's like, here's the Martin Luther King files.
Yeah, exactly.
And then Martin Luther King's descendants are like, great, do the Jeffrey Epstein
files. Exactly. Please.
Yeah, it's like okay, give us the Epstein list, and he's like, I'm interviewing Ghislaine Maxwell in prison. I'm like, no, just release the files. Later that day, before the report went live and Paxton and his office were subpoenaed, Paxton claimed it was a nasty partisan play by Democrats, but records showed the investigation team was in fact more loyal to the Republicans than the Democratic Party. They were all Republicans.
It's politically motivated.
All these blue-haired girls in my house are investigating me for scamming.
Ken Paxton caught stabbing man in street. It was politically motivated. The media made me do it.
He fell into my knife.
Yeah. Because he's a liberal.
This liberal fell into my knife 37 times and then laid $3.8 million at my feet.
Exactly.
Anyways, I'm going to go fire all my staff for reporting me to the ethics committee. Now, on May 25th, 2023, the House Investigation Committee unanimously agreed that Paxton should be impeached, including a list of 20 articles of impeachment was like published.
Yeah.
He was impeached just 2 days later by the House on May 27th, where they voted 121 to 23 to impeach.
Wow.
Triggering an automatic suspension from office pending a trial with the Texas Senate. So the trial does not go to an Article 3 court or any derivative thereof. It goes to the other chamber of the House in most states, except for, I think, Nebraska, which has a unicameral. They don't have a House and a Senate. They just have the legislature.
Yeah. Wow, that is a fun fact about Nebraska.
Fun fact.
Which there aren't many.
I think it's only them. As a Texas state senator, Angela Paxton declined to recuse herself from the trial, and there's technically nothing stopping her from doing that. It's all just vibes. So her colleagues voted that she be barred from voting on her husband's impeachment.
I feel like that's fair.
Yeah, I feel like it's fair. It's really too bad she didn't just take the L to begin with.
Yeah,
and she had to be dragged to doing the right thing. The impeachment trial began on September 5th, 2023 in front of all 31 members of the Texas Senate. There's only 31 of them. So Ken Paxton was acquitted of all charges on September 16th, 2023 with a Senate vote of 16 to 12.
Wow.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yep.
So he just keeps going.
So and now this brings us back to the modern day. So this divorce was just a fun way to talk all about the Paxtons generally. While invoking fundamentalist values and deep piety at every turn, the Paxtons have acted the exact opposite on a statewide scale for a decade. They have made, they may be breaking the law, this is all alleged, but no one can say they aren't doing it biblically. So, Angela Paxton stood by her husband throughout his impeachment trial in 2023, stating to a crowd of supporters in Austin the day before Ken's acquittal, I realized that God wanted me to feel that powerlessness, the powerlessness of my flesh that normally I'm able to rely on in the Senate. All of a sudden, I'm like, and I'm still reading the quote, all of a sudden I'm like, this is why I'm here. Because the weapon of our warfare is not of the flesh, that we walk in the flesh. We are not waging war according to the flesh. End quote.
No.
That's first off, that's some Peter Thiel type incomprehensible bullshit. Yeah. What the fuck? Why are we talking about flesh? Anyways, the pound of flesh of Jesus eating the bread is just something that the conservative evangelicals, they just love that shit.
Yeah.
I say that as a Jew who've seen it in mass many times. There has yet to be a situation that Angela cannot find scripture for, which is actually one of her superpowers. She loves spinning it into righteousness, which is honestly I really respect their ad libs. In light of the divorce, it will be interesting to see if Angela Paxton continues to stand by Ken within the government as she has for years. It will also stand to see what kind of political career Angela maintains without her husband's shadow and financial backing. Ken, on the other hand, though less prone to quoting the Bible explicitly, seems to truly have no issue breaking the law and just going for it as long as political buddies will support him. Yeah. And he keeps getting reelected again and again. He is now running for John Cornyn's U.S. Senate seat in 2026. Cornyn has long been critical of Paxton's atrocious record of malfeasance while in office, and Paxton is positioning himself as the more obedient Trump supporter as his selling point. At
a certain point, you gotta. It's
get the rhinos out.
In Trump's Republican Party, it feels like the more you fuck up, the more loyal you are.
Yeah, the more the more you fuck up for Trump. The more you fuck up for Trump. It'll be interesting to see if Paxton's divorce can tarnish this, and even more explicit citations of adultery and infidelity will have any effect on his ability to challenge Cornyn. Though if history tells us anything, Ken Paxton's probably going to be okay. Yeah. Which really sucks, right? So there's this is adjacent to another issue called a biblical divorce, or excuse me, what the hell am I talking about? A covenant divorce. So a covenant divorce is a type of divorce where usually in a marriage, to back up a little bit, there's marriages where it's the contract is between you, another party, and it's recognized by the state, the government, which famously is separated from the church. In 3 states in the union, and I think it's Arizona, Arkansas, and Louisiana, there is something else called a covenant marriage, in which marrying spouses agree to the bond on paper. Instead of between you, another spouse, and the state, it's between you, another spouse, and God. And what this means is that some constitutional protections do not attach when seeking a divorce. So it's public policy. You can't put anything in a prenup or compel another party to do stuff like attend premarital counseling before getting divorced. You can't put any roadblocks between a divorce if that's what a party wants. Not by contract, not by implication. The court will never order anything like that. Yeah. Most of the time in a traditional divorce. A covenant divorce is basically you can actually impose premarital counseling and requirements on people. Now, this is not in Texas. I just wanted to bring this up because very few couples in those states have ever married under covenant marriage law, but it recognizes specific religious divorce, which religious marriages are recognized by the state, but they are recognized as private contracts and are subject to the limitations of contract law. Gotcha. Not in these 3 states. They are actually independent entities, though seldom used. You see the infusion of religion and divorce and marriage in some places. It gets a little weird.
Yeah, that's super interesting.
Yeah, I mean, here the thing to watch for is that the government here is run by people in a post-truth era. Post-truth, no one gives a shit about what's actually real. What we care about is he our guy? Yeah, right. Exactly. Is he our guy? Can he do what he claims to? Here, he's basically pegging himself to the Trump train.
Yep.
And I think what's so interesting about the Trump experience is that Trump has not been able to nominate a successor, right? And that's really important. When I say MAGA is a cult, I don't mean that to be derisive. I mean that in the definitional sense that there is a very centralized power structure and then everyone serves that power structure. I don't mean to say that they're like literally worshiping him. Some are, but I think we do that with lots of politicians. But I still think the comparison is apt because the number one reason that cults fall apart of all sizes is succession crises.
Yeah.
Succession crises, even in cults that are highly organized and regimented. It doesn't even necessarily have to be a religious cult, just like any cult which is a centralized private power structure. Dictated by common beliefs is how I would nominate a cult.
Yeah.
Even in the cults that like have years of prep and careful planning to appoint a successor to the original charismatic leader.
Yeah.
Even when they do that, it fractures.
Yeah.
I mean, some execute it better than others, but most of the time, what makes movements like this fall apart so rapidly is the loss of that leader.
Yeah.
And Trump has congestive heart failure if his giant fluid retentive ankles, or if his giant cankles are anything to go by. And he's also, like 78?
Yeah, exactly. He's getting up there.
He's not going to be around for maybe 10 more years max.
Well, and there's no like structural like fundamentals to the Trump cult. Like it is quite literally a cult of personality.
Yeah, it's a cult of
like there's not like it's like there's a new thing to care about. Whether it's like remember when for a month he talked about water pressure and it was killing at rallies.
Oh yeah.
He was like, you know what they used to have water pressure. Now they don't have water pressure.
I hate that he's fucking funny.
Yeah, exactly.
I hate that I actually kind of like listening to him. And this is why I talk about like Trump is so charismatic. He's so charismatic. And people are like, no, he's not charismatic. He can't say a single sentence out loud. And I'm like, that's not charisma. That's eloquence, right?
Yeah.
If you don't, sure, you may not be charmed by him, but like the clear evidence is that most people are charmed by him. And this is why people like Elon Musk can go up there like out of their gourd on ketamine and just stand in a boardroom and be like, $8 billion, please. And everyone just hands it over because they believe in his fundamental, they believe in who he is, not in what he says.
Yeah.
Right? And whether or not that belief is earned is rather irrelevant to the question of whether or not he's charismatic, right? And I think I'm so curious to see. I think that's because like he's distanced himself. Every single person who works for him stops working for him within 4 years, if they make it that far.
Yeah, exactly.
If they make it that far, and many people don't.
Yeah,
like the Scaramucci. White House press secretary Scaramucci made it for 11 days, or some shit like that.
And he built a whole career off of it.
And honestly, I've listened to a couple of podcasts. He went on Scott Galloway's Prof G podcast, and actually, I still don't like him, but I find him way more palatable now.
Well, he's talked about like a Trump on the campaign trail. I listened to him talk about like dealing with Trump on the campaign trail, and it was like interesting insight.
It was interesting.
Yeah,
insight,
I don't trust him,
and I don't trust him, but I respected that he literally gets on podcasts. He's like, I just wanted power, and I regret it. I regret that I aided and abetted this crazy movement. I'm not going to justify it. I'm just like, I was bilked. I thought that I could be the guy that survives the storm and comes out the other end in the halls of power. No, I just got fucking killed.
Yeah,
immediately.
exactly.
And I think that's what's going to happen. I think that's how MAGA ends, is that like there isn't a way to stop it, but you just wait for it to dissolve. Or that this Epstein, I mean, we made a joke about it a little bit earlier. This Epstein shit is like blowing a hole in his credibility because everyone's like, well, okay, first off, I should point out that Trump was convicted, jailed, and died under Trump's first term. So the cover-up was not the deep state Democrats. The government was Republican controlled at the time. So it is a little silly that we've been like fighting Biden about this when Biden was just like, dude was already dead when I got back into power. And anyways, now that we're back to the original guy who did the cover-up, how are we surprised that the guy is like, no, I'm not giving you the 3 minutes of tapes.
I know, yeah.
Well, anyways.
It's just so funny. The Obama and Biden framed me in the documents that may or may not exist.
Yeah.
Like,
well, because Pam Bondi literally like 2 months ago was like, it's on my desk.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's a tweet of that. Like, it's on my, and what's that podcaster, Dan Banjovi or whatever?
Oh,
the deputy,
Dan Bonjoni?
or whatever. He's like bald and has big veins and like does the InfoWars thing where he screams into a mic. At least he did before he runs the FBI, which is a crazy sentence to say out loud. And Kash Patel, they were all like, the Epstein list is like the deep state. And now they're like, no, it doesn't exist. Can we all stop talking about this now? No, he was apparently, according to NPR and Bloomberg Law, Trump was warned by Attorney General Pam Bondi that he was on the Epstein list in like May.
That's
a couple months ago.
And so they were just trying to figure out what narrative to spin.
And like, do I believe that like there's a deep state conspiracy to defend child traffickers? No. Like, I don't think there's some grand deep state because
your lead-in made me think different, so I just like buy.
No. Well, like, do I believe that as like a fundamental factual basis? Answer no. Do I believe that there is a list and there is like a giant government like cover up?
Yeah.
I think yes, because the list is symbolic, and if it's released, it loses its power as a political football. Excuse me.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and so like I don't like the reason I'm so skeptical is that like in order to keep a secret of anything like the QAnon crowd thinks exists, you would have to recruit the same thing with the moon landing. You would have to recruit so many individuals of all shapes, sizes, and power structures. Every segment of society, rich, young, poor, for a global or even just national pedophile sex trafficking. You know how large a secret that is? That is impossible. Just even assuming if true, the capacity of any organization to keep a secret that long is zero.
Well, it's impossible to keep a secret like that with like 20 people. You know what I mean?
Like, what you're saying? We're like bringing children like to like a sex island, and then also every single member of Congress is there that we don't like. And that's the other thing is it's like the people responsible shift depending on the era. Anyways, what I'm saying is that like, do I believe there's anything to this like grand conspiracy? No. Do I believe it is still an incredibly powerful symbolic tool that may undermine confidence in Trump and finally pull the blindfold off of some people's eyes? Yes. Right. And that's why I want the list released now, because watching Trump like squirm and try and like find ways to pivot, because he's in the last 4 days he's tried his social media thing. This is why it's been so interesting to me, where he like every time he wants a narrative change, he just does something ridiculous. Like remember, like they're like, hey, Trump, release the list, and then he's like, here's an AI gif of Obama getting arrested. And everyone's like, no, give us the list. That's not gonna. And it's been so interesting watching his team only have one button. And then when that button stops working and the news cycle doesn't grab whatever ridiculous thing he's done and run with it, he sort of just stands there naked. He like it's really been fascinating to see how powerless he's been once that button, his like outrage people button did not outrage enough people. Like there's a monolith that's taller than any noise he can generate. Anyways, this was a big sort of discussion of conservative right-wing politics. Thanks so much for joining us for another week, guys. I know this episode was a little bit different. We went into Ken Paxton's thing. We'll throw all the sources in the notes below. We'll see if this like biblical divorce thing goes anywhere, but I mostly wanted to use this as an excuse to talk about Ken Paxton and the how state politics and federal politics are sort of blending together these days, because the framers of the Constitution never imagined a situation where individual politicians were more loyal to their party than to their branch. Because the federal and state constitutions often assume that like if you're a judge, you're going to be loyal to the judicial branch above all else. If you're a state senator, you're going to be loyal to the legislative branch because that's how you get power. If you're an executive, you're going to be loyal. But they never fucking imagined private political parties, because political parties are private institutions. They're just corporations. There's nothing actually special about them. If you're a judge who's loyal to the Republican Party, you're a legislature who's loyal to the Republican Party, you're an executive member, be that in the AG's office or loyal to the Republican Party, that breaks the system. Because the checks and balances now they cross. They cross the branches and powers of government, and so the checks start lifting out of the way because your buddies on the other side of the other branch of government pull the mode up for you. And the framers never imagined that because the internet and our speed of communication. This was this was like the early 1800s, 1790s or whatever. Did not imagine that. So watching that unfold has been really interesting. Anyways, go to gossipaboutprejudice.com. Support us. Keep the lights on. Leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform channel. Send our work to someone who you think may enjoy it. Let us know what you think of this one. We try not to do too much political stuff. I think I'm softening a little bit on that because of all the stuff going on. I'm having our team look into the Crafton/Unknown Worlds Subnautica lawsuit, so that should be fun.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways, guys, thanks so much. We'll see you next week.
Later.